What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Over the Octagon podcast. We're fresh off a pay-per-view UFC 303 with Alex Pereira and Jiri Procházka. There was no shortage of some highlight moments, and we're going to talk about everything right here, right now. If you're not already, don't forget, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the thumbs up, like the video, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think your favorite moment or fight from UFC 303 was. Peace.
Hey, pussy, are you still there?
I actually admire that you can actually be this fake, and like when the TV comes on, how you can just change. You're the scum of the earth.
You don't doubt you, miss, I couldn't do it. The odds that I couldn't do it. Look at me now. Living in calm down. Headshot, dead. That's it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Over the Motherfucking Octagon.
Chama.
Don't forget, if you're watching this video on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, drop a like, hit the thumbs up, and leave us a comment. Let us know better what your thoughts were for UFC 303. We had to bring all the boys together today.
Had to. Oh, yeah, dude. That card was absolutely insane. Start to finish, man.
So I'll be honest, I was a little disappointed on the card overall. There was just a lot of bullshit, but the main event, Alex Pereira, Jiri Procházka, as advertised, save UFC 300 once when Conor McGregor backs out for a pinky toe injury. And then last night, I think the card was heading in a kind of underwhelming direction. That's my opinion. And I think they saved it. Well, not Jiri, obviously, but unless by sacrifice. But Alex Pereira saves UFC 303 twice.
Right.
Vicious second round KO. Head kick, too. Absolutely incredible. What are your thoughts, initial thoughts? Talk to me.
On the card itself, I agree with you. I think it was a little bit underwhelming when it came to some fights. However, I feel like the fights that were finishes, they kind of made it to where you could go back and be like, man, that was a fucking banger card. Just because of somehow some of these finishes happened and the way it happened, like, the Payton Talbott, and, the Jiri, those kind of finishes last night kind of made the fight, the pay-per-view worth it. What about you, Nasty? Same thing or what?
Man, I really liked the early prelims and prelims, man. To be honest, I thought that was awesome. The main card was very disappointing, starting with MVP and Gary. That was not the fight I fucking thought I was going to watch. A lot of people did not like that, but I mean, shout out to Dana White for all the pivoting he did to make this shit happen. Dan Ige is a fucking badass.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So let's start with just the main event. And then there's so many different talking points on this card, I think, but let's just start off hot right at the top with the main event.
Yes.
So start with the stare down, right? The first time these guys fought, they had a legendary stare down. This time, and me and Joel talked about this before we started today, I think the UFC knew how good the stare down was the first fight, and this time they were prepared for it. The production level for that stare down was unlike anything I'd ever seen.
Awesome.
They had 17 different camera angles and all these close-ups. And I mean, just like that, it's one of the most intense things I've ever seen in combat sports.
Dude, just literally coming from when Jiri comes out and when he gets there, he doesn't do anything. He goes and walks right into the center of the octagon and just stands there.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't move, doesn't blink, nothing. And then Pereira comes out, does this thing, stands there. And Nasty, you can attest, you too, Murky. I felt like they stared down for 5 minutes straight.
They did. They timed it. It was I think 4 minutes and 55 seconds.
That's
Neither
insane.
one of them even blinked.
I was wondering how long that was. That was so brutal. Did Alex blink?
Neither one of them even blinked.
Yeah, I was like, man, Alex is the scariest guy.
So they said that on the broadcast last night. They timed it. The stare down was 4 minutes and 55 seconds. Neither one of them blinked. And I think it was Joe Rogan or one of Daniel Cormier, John Anik, one of the three said, so they just did that for an entire round, basically, right? Like they just did a stare down for an entire round. So that fight, although it ended, early, very early in the second round, it essentially went an extra because there was a whole nother round happening before the fight even started, just in the stare down.
Fucking nuts. And I'm so glad the UFC kept it going. Like, let them keep going and stare, because it built up that initial start of the fight so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was wild, man. He reminds me of the Undertaker. I mean, what a fucking badass.
It's just so intense, right? Like it's and it's not like fake intensity. Like sometimes you see, like Jamal Hill, for example, right? Like when he fought Jamal Hill was like over the octagon.
Outside.
Yeah, it was like, like get in here, like talking shit, and it was almost like, who are you trying to convince? Like, are you trying to convince us or yourself? Like, and but these two, that's not the case. Like, this is real deal Holyfield. This shit is legit. Both of these guys are some of the most intense individuals I've ever seen in my life. They both terrify me. Alex especially.
Dude, I mean, just looking at the fight, man, the last two punches or kicks that were thrown, both were dropping Jiri. That's just insane, man. It's fucking wild. What's next for Jiri? I mean, I just don't know. Like, that guy's, if it wasn't for Alex, he would definitely be champ. 100%, I think, dude.
I was just going to bring that up too. So it's funny you mentioned it. What's next for Jiri? Because I was watching the post fight after the fight, he came on and did like a little like recording and talked about it. And he was just like, he basically said, like, there's two options for me. I either get better and be the best, or I'd never fight again. He's like, there's no other option. He's like, so basically what he's saying is, I refuse to lose. So if I lose and I'm losing, and I'm just not good enough to do this. Like, he holds himself that high to a standard that he refuses to not be the elite of the elite.
It's such a shame too, because I love Jiri, dude. Everything about him, his fucking aura, his personality, like the lead up to this fight, the build up, like the type of aura is this fucking popular word people are using now all of a sudden again, but like he has it, bro. Right? They offer him this fight on short notice. Obviously, they both kind of got it on shorter notice or replacement for Conor McGregor. He accepts. He then locks himself in a shed for 3 days, fasts, no food, no water, and meditates alone by himself in a shed for 3 fucking days.
Wild.
What the fuck? What, dude?
Nobody does that anymore, man. This guy was born in the 1800s, dude.
This dude is
he's crazy.
He really takes this samurai warrior personality. I mean, it is legit. It is so real. Which I think that's why everybody's so fascinated by him. Same thing with Alex Pereira, right? Like, you see him on weigh-in day with the face paint and the headdress, and the way he does his walkout and all these different intimidation factor things that he does. It just makes it such an incredible matchup, and I feel bad for Jiri, really, because if it wasn't for Alex, Jiri is champ. And I don't see anybody that beats him except for Alex.
And dude, Alex ragdolled Jiri. I didn't think that was possible to do. He ragdolled the fuck out of him, dude.
I know,
he made
Murky,
Jiri look
you
like
mentioned
a scared scrub.
You mentioned that he looked intensely better in the first round this fight than he did in the last fight.
Yeah, I mean, he won. So arguably, Jiri won the first round in their first matchup. Last night, obviously, that was not the case, right? Alex convincingly won the first round and even put an exclamation point fucking stamp on it in the last second with a hook that knocks Jiri down. And what was even crazy about that, and we have this TikTok going viral today, And a lot of people in the comments are all saying the same thing. I don't even think Jiri realized it was the end of the round. Jiri was so out of it on that last second punch that he thought Herb Dean stopped the fight. He's laying on his back like, no, come on. Like, he didn't even realize it was the end of the round. I think he thought Herb Dean stopped the fight.
Yeah.
Jeez, dude. Alex has
So,
dead hands.
and then you see him stand up and he wobbles back to his corner. That fight was over in between rounds. And
it
then
sure was.
Because then it was 4 seconds. 4 seconds into the second round, he throws a high kick, which Jiri, I'm assuming, thought he was going to throw a leg kick by his reaction and, by Alex's traditional style and how he beats up the legs so much. He goes to defend the low kick and it just comes up top, and it wasn't even like flush. That's the thing.
Beautiful. The fighter IQ 101, dude. Like, that's insane.
So let's get into some of this, right? Let's start talking about some of these things when it comes to Alex Poatan Pereira. So I have a question for you. And because I heard this discussed last night, this question was asked to Dana White, and it is difficult to answer on the fly. But at what point or where do you put Alex Pereira on the list of the all-time greatest strikers in MMA?
We were talking about this last night.
We were talking about it last night. Nick, I'll let you go first because I know this is one thing you were amped up to talk about.
Oh, man. But as the best strikers in MMA, I think he might be the best ever. I think it was, besides that, you have Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre. But George St. Pierre is more of a well-rounded fighter. Anderson Silva, that was a different kind of fighting style. Alex might be the hardest fucking hitting person and the smartest striker. I mean, that dude is scary.
Yeah, it's not just power. It's the IQ, it's the timing, it's the speed, the setup, the feints, the everything that he does is so calculated. To have the amount of power that he has behind all that technique should be fucking illegal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then like you got guys like Izzy. I think Izzy's definitely up there, especially Izzy knocked out Alex, right? So like Alex is almost helping Izzy's case for how good Izzy actually is.
Yeah, I did not think of that. That's insane. I mean, like I said, dude, I even was talking about him already last night being in the top 5 UFC fighters ever.
That was going to be kind of my post question to this one. And because I kind of want to hear from other people too. So when you listen to this, like, I want to hear from people in the comments when we make this clip, like, where does he land in top 5 greatest fighters of all time? Is Alex Pereira now moved into being the top 5 greatest fighters of all time after that win last night? And if you asked me last night after fucking 12 Miller Lights, and I would have told you he's number 2.
Yeah, that's what we were saying.
I would have said that motherfucker is number 2. Put him there right now.
We forgot about Khabib last night, so I would say 3.
No, Khabib's not even top 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, yeah. I think man, all time, it's just so hard because his body of work is so short. He's been in the UFC for such a short period of time. I mean, the amount that he's been able to accomplish in the, very short 2+ years that he's been in the UFC is incredible. It's unprecedented. I mean, and can you make a claim for him to be top 5 all time already? I don't know. I think there's some recency bias in that. I think if he really looked at the longevity of other people's careers, I don't know if he really makes it top 5. I will say this, and maybe this is premature, but it segues us into a different topic. But if he is able to move up to heavyweight at some point and become the UFC's first ever 3-division champion, that alone puts him in top 5 of all time, in my opinion.
I think that alone puts him number 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be so hard to argue if he went up a weight class and beat if he beat Tom Aspinall, even if he beat Tom Aspinall. But if he beats John Jones, if he moves up and fights John Jones and beats John Jones, sign like there's no fucking
If he-
person in the
if
world
he-
who,
I-
who
well,
could
and-
say
and be-
otherwise.
And because it's not like he's in his prime either, right? Like Alex
No.
is older as well. So it's not like, oh, well, the guy in his prime beat up an older John Jones.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, he might beat up an older John
may be
Jones,
younger.
but he's older. John's a year or two older than him, I believe.
I think
Could we
Pereira's
get that
38,
fight?
bro.
Could we get that fight? Could that
I don't
happen?
know if we're gonna get that fight. I think that's the fight everybody fucking wants. I really believe that. I don't think anybody but John Jones has an interest in John versus Stipe. I really don't. If there is, again, like I'll prompt the listeners with this one too. If there's anybody out there that it genuinely is interested in John versus Stipe versus any of the other matchups, let me know. Because I don't think I've seen or heard from a single person that prefers to see John Jones fight Stipe Miocic over Tom Aspinall or Alex Pereira.
So just to confirm,
Yep, no one's even said.
Alex Pereira is 1 week older than John Jones.
Really?
Sickening, dude.
They're both
Absolutely.
30, they're both 36.
Okay.
1 week older.
Both. That's just
John.
sickening.
I hate that
So
month.
why not
Freaks me
make
out.
that fight, dude? You can't like.
Yeah, I mean,
Dana's
so
cooking something, dude. I feel like he's cooking.
Dana confirmed last night, and I really believe him when he said this because he said the same things over and over again, that he's committed to John versus Stipe. So no matter what we think about it, I think we're gonna get John versus Stipe. And then, then you have Tom Aspinall. Like, I just don't know where Alex Pereira fits into the heavyweight equation and when that all happens and shakes out.
I guess
That's
that kind
gonna
of
be
leads
the
into
thing.
the question: what is next for Alex Pereira? Is it a move up to heavyweight, or is it Magomed Ankalaev?
Move it up.
The belt. Do you run the risk of putting? I mean, I know this sounds soft, but do you run the risk of putting him up against Magomed and kind of ruin the opportunity to have him put on or have him attempt the first ever 3-division champ fight? Because if he loses against Magomed, that's out of the water.
Not going to happen. And it's a no-brainer.
So do you run the risk of that, of him potentially losing that fight, or do you say, fuck it, this is history, let's fucking do it? Imagine, I mean, there's a crazy thing going on in the sphere upcoming. Well, imagine Dana was like, biggest event ever, fuck it, Alex Pereira, John Jones, out of nowhere. Imagine that shit happens. Just out of nowhere.
That's not gonna happen.
I know it's not, but just envision that in your brain.
I think that I think realistically what's next for Alex Pereira is Magomed.
I agree.
Think so?
Because just timing wise, John and Stipe are gonna fight. John Jones, was injured. I don't know that he's even really ready or in a full-fledged camp yet. We don't even have an announcement for when John and Stipe is going to be. There's speculation that it's going to be at the end of the year, October, November, December. You know what I mean? We're in June right now, so almost July. So, like, Alex isn't going to wait until, his next fight potential with John Jones wouldn't be until March of next year, probably at the earliest.
Yeah.
Right? Like that, and that's not going to happen. Like he's not going to wait. He's not going to wait almost an entire year. So yeah, and as far as the light heavyweight division, like there is no one else besides Magomed. He's beat everybody else.
Yep.
He's beat Alex. He's beat Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill wants a rematch, but like, I think Magomed's the clear. If the Jamal Hill Alex Pereira fight was closer, I think you could justify a rematch. That fight wasn't close though, so
or you could justify Magomed having to fight Jamal Hill,
right?
Something of that nature,
and maybe there is something like that, but I think for Alex, what's next is Magomed. I think that's pretty obvious.
If he loses to Magomed, does he get that heavyweight fight though? That's scary. No. He doesn't get it.
I don't know that he doesn't. I mean, he moved up to light heavyweight after losing to Izzy.
Fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, but Izzy, Magomed.
No, I hear you. I'm just saying, like, I think there's a I think it's still a possibility.
Okay.
Either
Fair
way, so let's get this straight, right? Arguably on the cusp in 2 years in the UFC, on the cusp of being top 5 all time.
Yep.
Already arguably the greatest striker MMA has ever seen.
Yeah.
And we just continue to witness domination after domination. He shows up when nobody else will. He saves the cards when nobody else will. I've never seen a non-English speaking fighter become such a superstar in such a short amount of time. I mean, what we're witnessing right now from Alex Pereira, however things shake out and however they end, is historical.
He's going to be on the Mount Rushmore of mixed martial arts. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I can see his face there already.
I agree.
You know?
Chama.
All right, so then let's go to our co-main, man. So let's talk about the craziness of what shakes out in the co-main. So there's a lot to unpack, right? And I don't know if I'll be able to find the full timeline, but so initially this fight, the co-main of this was supposed to be Jamal Hill and Khalil Roundtree, right?
Yep.
Then you had Jamal Hill, Carlos Ulberg.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then I guess you had
Anthony
Brian
Smith.
Ortega, Diego Lopes.
No, then you had Anthony Smith, Ulberg.
But that wasn't the co-main. That was never a co-main.
Was at that time.
No. That was never a co-main. That was just replacing Jamal Hill. That was never a co-main. Right after that fell through, Diego Lopes, because that happened the same time. That happened the same time as the Conor thing. They essentially announced the main event, co-main event. So then it goes to Brian Ortega, Diego Lopes at 145 pounds at featherweight. Then the night before weigh-ins, 3:30 in the morning, so really the day of weigh-ins, they informed Diego Lopes that Brian Ortega is not going to make weight and that the fight is now at lightweight at 155 pounds. Takes it. They weigh in, whatever, right? He had already cut down to 146, but, he takes it at lightweight. Then hours before the fight, hours before the fight, Brian Ortega can't compete. He's medically unable to compete. They say he's sick. Whatever the situation is, I don't know the specifics. I don't even want to speculate. You know what I mean? Because I don't know what the fuck's going on. I don't know. They call Dan Ige, who is ranked 13th in the featherweight division. Diego Lopes is 14th or was. They called Dan Ige on 3 hours' notice. Unprecedented. Nothing like that's ever happened before. Called Dan Ige on 3 hours' notice. He's local. He lives in Las Vegas. Trains in Las Vegas. He accepts the fight. He comes down. Obviously, he was in a camp because he has a fight or was supposed to have a fight in 3 weeks. So he was already in camp, so, he was in shape. He was ready to go. Comes down. He weighs in. They have to weigh in, right? He weighs in the locker room. Why fights are already happening in the arena.
Yep.
Dan Ige's weighing in the locker room. The fight then gets moved again from lightweight to a catchweight of 165 pounds, where Diego Lopes only weighs in at 161.
Fuck.
So, just absolutely insane. Then they go out, dude, and props to both of them. And
hell yeah!
I mean, it's because it's so difficult. Like Dan Ige, you take it on 3 hours' notice. But and they mentioned it a lot last night. I don't want it to get overlooked. How fucking crazy of a 48 hours Diego Lopes had.
It's nuts, man.
And for him to stick with it, wild. Dana's going to give those two guys whatever they want.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
and they deserve it.
And they both did well. Diego, I love the way he throws these counter crazy hooks. Nobody throws punches like that. And Ige for doing this, man, you get big credit for that. And he won.
And then to go out and win the third round.
Yeah, I think everyone thinks he won the third round.
If that fight, so that was a 3-round fight. Lopes won rounds 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Ige won round 3. That's everybody pretty much agrees. Do you guys think we get a different result if that was a 5-round fight?
No, I think
don't think
Lopez would have
Yeah.
edged out a decision.
Lopez
Although he was getting
gassed.
tired.
He was fucking gassed.
He was
Ige
gassed.
was just picking up steam.
He was gassing, man. That's hard to call.
I said it last night watching the fights. I think if that's a 5-round fight, Ige wins.
Oh.
But
It's tough.
it wasn't. It's a 3-round fight. It has no business being a 5-round fight. You fight that differently, too. Like, does Diego Lopez, have more energy at that point if he had known from the beginning it was a 5-round fight? So, we can sit here and talk about hypotheticals all day, but Diego Lopez gets the win.
Besides that point, what if he would have fought Brian Ortega? Do you think he would have beat him after watching the fight last night? Do you think he would have beaten Ortega?
I do. I think Dan Ige and Brian Ortega are two polar opposite fighters. I know. I mean, so yeah, I do. I think stylistically, Ige gives Lopez more problems than Ortega does, just based off of styles.
Yeah.
Ige's power is crazy. He's never been knocked down. Like he's another guy that's just granite chin, super solid, lot of power. That's not Ortega. Ortega does not even come close to having the same power. He's very high caliber grappling and jiu-jitsu game, but so does Diego Lopez.
Oh, when he found the back, dude. When he puts leg locks in, you ain't fucking moving, dude.
Yeah.
That weight class is stacked too, man. I'm just looking at it right now, and it's just like, man, what fight do you give him next? There is no easy fight in that fucking division, dude.
I think Diego
Bryce
Lopez,
Mitchell.
I don't know if it's possible, but a fight I would be interested in if remaking the Brian Ortega one was off the table for whatever reason. Like, let's just say that Ortega, whatever he's got going on, that's off the table. I would like to see Diego Lopez, Yair Rodriguez. I think that's incredible. I think that's a crazy matchup. And it's test. That's a big test. Yair's striking's incredible.
Yeah.
You'd have to see how he kind of deals with that. And I honestly believe in my heart that there's a possibility of that being at the Sphere in September, Mexican Independence Day.
That's actually you might be right on that.
What a fight, dude.
We'll see, how that plays out, but I think that would be a fantastic fight to start off the main card at the Sphere in September.
I was so ready for Brian Ortega, man. You saw his little seminar of jiu-jitsu stuff he was doing at like some random place before the fight. Mm-hmm. It was the coolest video ever. He was doing like flying arm bars for the people in the crowd.
Yeah.
This dude was hype, man. I mean, he may be one of the best grapplers, if not the best grappler in the UFC. Jiu-jitsu wise.
His jiu-jitsu is super legit.
That would have been amazing to watch, man. I'm pissed because I love his comeback. Like, his story is awesome. So hopefully whatever it is, he gets better soon.
Yeah, whatever's going on. Well said. Yeah, absolutely well said. So, but that was your chaos of your co-main event. Obviously, Diego Lopez pulls it out. Nothing. I don't think any person on the planet has anything but positive things to say about both guys, Diego Lopez and Dan Ige. Dan Ige was fighting with house money. He lost the fight but won. Like, he won overall.
Absolutely.
His stock last night skyrocketed like exponentially.
Yeah, he's gonna headline a fight night now or something like that. Like, he's
gonna fight at the Sphere. So they both asked to fight at the Sphere. And Dana White in his post-fight press conference said whatever they want.
Whatever.
So Diego Lopez will definitely be fighting on the Sphere as long as everything goes, the way it should. And then, Dan Ige asked for that opportunity as well. And after last night, how do you not give it to him?
Agree.
So, I mean, both of those guys, it wasn't, maybe the impressive win and performance that we would have liked to see from Diego Lopez, but it's a tough opponent, dude, and after everything he went through, he still fought extremely well and hard, and he got the win. It's legit. Just, I mean, both of those dudes are savages.
Yeah, they are. They fucking
Diego's the man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's a
absolute
fucking man.
savages. So then we have, we had. I don't even want to talk about Anthony Smith.
Dude.
They suck. That fight was awful. Roman Dolidze is terrible. If you let Roman Dolidze outstrike you and dominate you like that, dude, just stick to the booth, stick to the table. You and Larasenko do the pre-fight stuff. Just do that. Ian Gary.
I hate him.
Ian Gary, dirty. I saw you said Ian Gary fraud check.
Fraud check. And the reason why is he didn't. I don't think he didn't know how to fight MVP, man. And I got to give props.
Hold on. Insert clip from last week's episode of me trying to tell you that nobody knows how to fight this motherfucker.
Dude, he did not know how to fight him. And
Nobody
I kind
does.
of agree with Dana White at the post press conference. Dana said, if that fight would have went to a draw, I would have 100% agreed with it.
Imagine that's the way that Ian Gary lost his zero being undefeated. I guess he technically would be still undefeated, but he'd be 14-0-1 at that point instead of 15-0.
I hated that fight. I hated it, man. I knew Charles was going to give Ian Gary some crazy submission to go through. When this stuff happens, they always have one move they're going to go for. And I'm not going to lie, it was kind of impressive for a little bit. The leg lock, I didn't think was impressive. But the whole body triangle, I mean, that was good, man. It looked pretty good.
Yeah, his submission game really stepped up.
But, man,
he spends so much time down there in Brazil training with those guys. And Damian Maia, I mean, brother, it doesn't get any more elite than that.
No.
As far as jiu-jitsu. And so, I mean, he did what he had. Here's what I'll say. Was it the same kind of concept with Diego Lopes, right? Was Ian Gary's victory the exclamation point that everybody thought it could be? A lot of people were saying he was going to knock out MVP. Again, dude, if you think he was going to knock out MVP, you haven't watched MVP fight enough. Like, the dude just moves so crazy. He's
a tough fight for anybody.
Literally anybody. Yeah. That karate style typically does not work in mixed martial arts. There's very few people that make it work. Wonder Boy's one that makes it work, right? But typically they get out grappled, right? They get wrestled and they get out grappled. MVP has that karate style, but his movement makes even grappling him and taking him down difficult. Because of the way he closes distance, and before you have a chance to shoot on his leg, you're getting punched in the face. He shifts, he switches stances, he's side to side, he's back and forth, he's constantly bouncing. But I don't think it was the exclamation point victory that Ian Gary, said it was going to be, or that people thought it could be. But he definitely showed, a different facet to his game that up until this point in his career, 15 fights in, we've never seen Ian Gary, use jiu-jitsu or grapple the way that he did against MVP, and MVP turns everybody into wrestlers. So, but yeah, I could see it as a draw. I don't think MVP won, so I could see it as a draw or Ian Gary win. Either way, I just hate how
I think he outstruck Ian Gary.
He did. He definitely outstruck him. So the issue then becomes for me is Ian Gary, you win a fight, right? And he does this every fucking time. Unless he really beats the brakes off somebody, but he does this every time to where it's a close fight. It arguably could have been a draw. And then afterwards he's talking about the fight like he knocked him out in the first round. Yeah. I can't wait until he fights Shavkat, because that's inevitable. He's gonna fight Shavkat, and it's just all gonna be over. It's just all gonna be over.
Yeah,
and I can't wait for that day.
He was talking about himself being on the Mount Rushmore of mixed martial arts. So I'm like, dude, no way in hell, man. He barely won. I do agree, he barely won, but I think he did win. But I mean,
I agree.
We wanted a striking war, and we did not get that, man. And I think he kind of got MVP kind of got in his head. So I think Ian Gary's mental toughness is not what we think it is. I mean, I think a lot of people think he's soft, and I think it got to him. You can break him. He talks a lot, but you can definitely break him.
MVP does that to everybody. It's so frustrating. He frustrates everyone. You have a guy who's an elite striker like Ian Gary diving for fucking legs. And then you talk all this shit, how you're faster, you're more powerful, you're this, your striking's this. You're in there for 2 minutes, and all of a sudden you're diving for his fucking ankles. You're doing a crotch sniffing dry hump in the octagon because this man that's 37 years old that you talked how he came from Bellator and how that ain't shit. Now all of a sudden he's piecing you up. He's way faster than you. He hits harder than you. You can't even figure it out. You can't touch him.
That speed was unreal.
Yeah.
And it was obvious immediately that he was quicker.
It was.
Immediately.
It was. All right, so now let's get back. Let's kind of move down the card. We talked about, obviously now we've talked about the Ian Gary thing a good amount. Not sure what's next for him. He wants a top 5 fight. I think MVP is going to be a guy that hangs around for a little bit, few years, and just fucking is a menace to the welterweight division, which I think is going to be awesome to watch every time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ian Gary wants a top 5 fight. He probably should get it. He was 7th coming into this. However you feel about him, he got the win. I really hope one day we do see him fight Colby Covington. I think that would be ideal, and it would be a fantastic press conference for sure. So your featured prelim of the night, obviously, being a Philly guy, a guy that I'm a big fan of, Joe Body Bags Pyfer. We watched him on a UFC Fight Night back at the Apex, his last outing, lost to Jack Hermanson pretty convincingly. He gassed out quick. Jack Hermanson was ranked 11th at that time. And he got outclassed, and he definitely got exposed a little bit then. But he lived up to his word in this one because he was telling everybody, I'm coming out, I got something to prove. And, Marc-Andre Barriault, not like an elite guy, but a fucking tough guy, dude. Marc-Andre Barriault is no slouch. And Joe Pyfer came out and put his ass in a coffin.
Dude, that was scary, dude. Joe Pyfer is back. I am a huge fucking fan of this dude. I know you are, Murky, especially. Mm-hmm. Just watching that dominance.
Yep.
Dude, that's a bad motherfucker.
Yes.
USA, baby.
USA.
God damn.
It also was performance. He got performance of the night bonus. So
he did.
He got one of those.
He did. Yeah.
He just gets to business. That's what he does. He gets straight to business.
Yeah.
He does not play around.
Yeah. So it was the perfect redemption fight for him, right? So many haters, so many people talking shit after that fight with Jack Hermanson. And then for him to come out and do what he did, Saturday night against Marc-Andre Barriault, that is what we wanted to see from like an Ian Gary, right? Like that's what we wanted to see from, not that with everything happening, but that's what we were hoping to see from Diego Lopes. That's the result, that's the result people want for these guys that have hype, that are prospects that are coming up. That's how you win fights. That's how you continue the hype train. And all the people that were hating on Joe Pyfer, dead quiet, radio silence. There's nothing to say.
I forgot about him losing already. I think everyone has, dude.
Yeah. And his teammate, we'll next week we have a off week of UFC, so I think next week's episode we'll talk a lot more about, some MMA news and some of the fight announcements and things that are coming up. So be on the lookout for that next week's episode. But, his teammate Sean Brady was there last night, was in his corner as he always is. And he has a huge fight coming up against Gilbert Burns, which is going to be incredible. So, they got some shit shaking up here in the 215. You know what I mean? So good for Joe Pyfer. Incredible knockout. Yeah, nothing really else to say. That it didn't last long enough to talk about that long.
Yep. No, man, I'm ready to see what's next for that dude, man. He's got everything, man. He's a star, pretty much. You know, DC was praising him. Everyone is praising him, man. We can't wait to see what he's got next.
Absolutely. So then I think our only other talking point we really wanted to touch on this week and after UFC 303 on the prelims is just an absolute stud, a complete superstar in the making, a fucking weirdo for sure, but an animal, a savage, and a really dangerous man, Payton Talbott.
Dude.
A lot of hype going into this fight. He was the biggest favorite on this card by a landslide. He was minus 1,600 going into the night, and he showed why, right? Very quick, 20 seconds, I believe.
Yep.
Just a straight right hand ended it.
Yep.
I'm a huge
Ended
fan.
it.
Oh, how can you not be?
Skateboard P is my nickname for him, man. I'm a huge fan. And me and Joel were, you know how there was this day and age where everyone was getting the face tattoos, Sean O'Malley. And now it's kind of getting out of style, thank God, because that shit's fucking stupid. And then you got this new kid coming in, and me and Joel were saying, like, dude, this could be a future huge fight. A shift in MMA is always going to happen every couple of years. Payton has everything to beat Sean O'Malley, I think. I mean, it's a long shot, but like power hitters against crazy fast hitters like that, they get caught by people like that. And I mean, Payton's a beast, dude. Payton's a little beast.
Yeah, he has shown in his short career so far in the UFC too that he's versatile. He's well rounded.
Oh yeah,
he's really good everywhere. You'll have to see when he starts to get tougher and tougher competition how he fares against like a specialist, so to speak. An elite striker or an elite wrestler or grappler or something like that. But the guys he's fighting right now, leading up into getting into the top 20, the top 15, he's going to get a big fight soon.
He called out Adrian Yanez, right?
And Adrian Yanez, I think that's
a great call out.
Good call out. Perfect
right on the
step
cusp,
up.
Right there in the top 15. 14, I think Yanez is, maybe 13. So it's a perfect call
15.
out to get him. His perfect call out to get him into the top 15.
Yep.
Man, I would love to see him knock out Henry Cejudo. That'd be a funny fight to watch, bro.
I do think this is another one, right? Like this is another kind of like the Ian Gary Shavkat situation. I do think Payton Talbott, Sean O'Malley is an inevitable matchup. Obviously, it's one of those things. Like there's a lot of things that could happen. You never know. But that right now is like when you look into the future of the bantam weight division. When you look into the future of the bantamweight division, like that, you see it, right? Like you can see where it's going. You have and like you were saying, the styles, right? Different styles of fighters, different personalities. You have like mumble rap O'Malley, versus like this new age, like painting his fingernails, doing exercise on stripper poles, little one way, but Payton Talbott, he's a killer, man. So that's where it's going. But 20 seconds, he made quick work last night. Another highlight. He also got a performance of the night bonus.
Sure.
Do you have that in front of you? I know they gave extra bonuses last night. So
our bonuses for the night, we have Alex Pereira, performance of the night.
Obvious, yep.
This one makes 0 sense, but Macy Chiason got performance of the night. It was a doctor stoppage, dumb for that. Joe Pyfer, Cub Swanson, Andre Feely got fight of the night.
Fight of the night, yeah. That was a war.
It was a war. And then Payton Talbott got performance of the night as well. So 5 bonuses.
Okay. Yeah. So, good on them, man. Joe Pyfer, taking home a little extra cheddar. Payton Talbott, collecting another bonus. I think they should have given fight of the night to Lopez and Ige just because
of what happened.
Yeah, but I wonder if they're breaking them off something just because anyway. Like I wonder if they're taking care of them, anyway. Like they may not need the bonus because they might be getting something like that.
Danny Ige
regardless.
probably got $100,000 last night for coming on short notice, maybe more.
You would think that he'd had to do something. I mean, and it was the UFC's 4th highest gate ever. Alex Pereira now owns the 3rd and 4th highest gate in UFC history, which I believe he's only behind probably Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
So, what a stud. And, so that's a good pay-per-view. They made the money there to be able to pay some of these guys and do the thing. So, overall, I had said last night, and earlier in our episode here that I felt like it was a little underwhelming. But Joel made a great point. And I actually now, after we've sat here and talked about it for 45 minutes, I tend to agree with you. Like when you look at the highlights of the card,
overall
it's a fucking W. Just
like
an
it's
absolute
definitely
W.
one I'm going to talk about for a while.
Yeah. Well, and it's Peloton, man. What can you say? What else can you say?
Savage, dude. Just...
Oh yeah, man.
Let's go.
Let's just end it on that, baby. We'll end it on that. We'll see you guys next week. If you're still listening and you haven't already, you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, like the video, leave us a comment down below. Let us know your favorite part of UFC 303. Ring the bell. Make sure you get notified. We're going to drop another episodes every week like we've been doing for over a year. And, next week we'll get into some MMA news, some fight announcements, some different things. We're going to keep it hot. We're going to be shaking it. Going to do what we do, baby.
We're going to do what we do, son.
Let's go.
Yeah, one last thing, baby. Shama. Let's
Shama.
go.